Hello fellow cinephiles, Film Guru here. Today I'm reviewing The Kid Who Would Be King. This was directed by Joe Cornish and stars Tom Taylor, Louis Ashbourne Serkis, Andy Serkis' son, Rebecca Ferguson and Patrick Stewart. And it really is a retelling of the King Arthur story set in modern times. But it sort of looks at it in a bit different way. This is a group of kids led by Arthur, played by Louis Serkis, so it's sort of set in the modern world with a bit of fantasy thrown in there, and it's kind of interesting. Modern world England. At the start, there is a whole animated thing which looks at the previous king and his half sister Morgana and how he imprisons her in the earth and where she lays dormant for many centuries. It really looks at Arthur, a young boy who doesn't really know his father, and sort of sticks up for his friend at school with two bullies, and he always tries to do the moral thing and the right thing, no matter the consequences, but he's struggling quite a bit. Upon one night of being bullied, he ends up trying to hide in a construction site, whereupon he finds a sword in one of the pillars sticking out, and he ultimately goes up and pulls the sword out, and it really looks at the sword in the stone sort of concept of the King Arthur storyline. And ultimately he's visited by Merlin, a much younger version of Merlin, who tries to help him come to terms with being this hero, and that the fate of the world and England rides on his shoulders, because he has to overcome Morgana, who will rise again, and does slowly start to once the sword is taken out of the stone. And it's really about Merlin, trying to get Arthur going and trying to get his followers and his knights to fight beside him to take on Morgana. And he sort of takes in foes, so the two bullies that were picking on him, he takes them in as part of his group. And they set off on this quest which takes them all over England and London. And it's really about them trying to band together and trying to get to Morgana and ultimately overthrow her and become the victors over this particular villain before their world ends, when they only have 4 days to do it. And this all leads to quite a powerful ending, which is very entertaining, well shot. Look, I like this film. It was entertaining and engaging. I like the concept of taking King Arthur and doing something a little bit different with it, something we hadn't seen before, because this is a story that's been told in many movies over many centuries in many books, and it's good to see a sort of refreshing take on that sort of concept. I like that it's set in England where this story takes place. I like the group of kids. I think they all do solid performances and they're entertaining kids to get behind. The guy who plays Merlin, the young Merlin, does a really great job. I think Rebecca Ferguson's fantastic in this. I really liked her. I'm a big fan of her ever since Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. But the real standout for me, who does one of the great performances, I think anyway, is Patrick Stewart as he plays the older Merlin. He's absolutely brilliant in this and steals every scene that he's in. He seems to be the only actor and character within the film that knows it's a movie, and he sort of plays to that. And he's so brilliant, he's so over the top in parts, but he's just such a great job. A lot of the visual effects are quite well done. There's particular knight soldiers that are sort of flaming soldiers that come out of the ground that come after Arthur and his knights, and I really like the concept art of them and what they look like. And I think the visual effects in that were quite good. Moments where Merlin turns into an owl, and that's quite well done as well. And Morgana. Like, I really like the look of her when you first see her as part of the underground, as part of this tree, and coming off that, and the design, the look of her, I think is really great. I think it's a solid story. I think it's entertaining and fun. It sort of reminds me of, made me think of The Sorcerer's Apprentice, the one with Nicolas Cage, and also Chronicles of Narnia. I've had that sort of feel. And I like the design of the suits, and I like the morals of the story, and then the idea of kids, no matter where they come from or who their parents are, they can rise to the occasion. They can rise and do something great with their lives and themselves, and they don't have to come from anything in particular in order to do that. And I think that's a really good point in this film, and really well captured. I think this film has a lot of heart, and it has everyday things that kids struggle with, I guess. Being bullied at school, trying to do the right thing, coming from sort of one parent homes and how they deal with that, and how they overcome these things, and not knowing who their father or mother are, and how they come to terms with that and make peace with it and try and become the people they want to be. I really like that aspect of this film. There are a couple of gripes I didn't love about it. One in particular, some of the visual effects weren't great, especially Morgana when she transforms into a particular creature. I just didn't think it looked very good or worked very well, and I wasn't impressed with what they did with that, where all the other visual effects were quite well done. And the other thing is, it's sort of, my friend pointed this out to me and I could see the point he was making. This film really takes itself a little too serious in parts, like the parts with a bit of heart and a bit of story. They seem to get a bit bogged down in their performances and take themselves a little too seriously with it. And I think it should be a much more fun film in that regard. But besides those things, I did enjoy myself here. I wasn't bored, I was entertained, and I had fun with the story and the characters. Final verdict. Look, if you like the King Arthur story and a different take on it, you might enjoy this. If you like the teen sort of movies, you might enjoy it. And if you're a fan of films like Sorcerer's Apprentice or Chronicles of Narnia or anything in that sort of vein, you might enjoy this. I'm a big fan of the Quest films, and if you like that, you might enjoy it as well. I don't know if this film's going to be for everyone. I think young teens and young kids will get a lot out of it, and I know ultimately we'll find its audience that it's aimed at, or find the audience that it's looking for. But it was fun and entertaining in the most part. I'm going to give The Kid Who Would Be King 3.5 out of 5. I enjoyed myself here. It was entertaining and fun. Could have been a little better, but I did enjoy what I was watching and the experience I did have. Anyway, that's all from me today. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you enjoy this video and other videos on my channel, please hit subscribe down the bottom. Follow me on Facebook. Otherwise, until next time, enjoy the movies.